Have you ever had to pay extra for something just because it came from another country? That, my friends, is the essence of a tariff. In simple terms, a tariff is a tax imposed on goods imported from another nation. Imagine a wall around a country, and every time a product wants to enter, it has to pay a toll. Now you might wonder, why make things more expensive? Why not let in all the goods freely? Well, like most things in economics and history, it's a bit more complicated than that. Tariffs have been used for centuries for a variety of reasons, some aiming to protect domestic industries, others to generate revenue, and sometimes even to influence the political relationships between nations. So buckle up as we embark on a journey through the fascinating history of tariffs, exploring how these taxes have shaped economies, sparked conflicts, and continue to influence our globalized world today. The concept of tariffs is as old as civilization itself, stretching back thousands of years to the dawn of organized society. Long before the modern world drew lines on maps and established customs agencies, ancient peoples were already grappling with the challenges and opportunities of trade. As soon as communities began to exchange goods, be it grain, textiles, or precious metals, leaders recognized the potential to control and profit from these exchanges. The idea of placing a fee or tax on goods moving from one region to another was not just a financial strategy, but a tool of governance and power. The earliest civilizations, such as those in Mesopotamia and Egypt, developed intricate systems to monitor and tax the flow of goods. Archaeological evidence reveals that even in these ancient times there were officials tasked with recording, inspecting, and taxing merchandise as it entered city gates or crossed borders. These early tariffs were often inscribed on clay tablets or carved into stone, serving as both a record and a warning to traders. Long before the rise of modern nation-states, rulers understood that controlling the flow of goods across their borders was key to wealth and power. By imposing tariffs, they could not only fill their treasuries but also influence which goods were available to their people and which foreign merchants could do business within their realms. This control often extended to the very gates of their cities, where guards and officials would inspect incoming caravans and ships, ensuring that the proper duties were paid. In ancient Egypt, for example, pharaohs imposed taxes on goods entering their kingdom, ensuring the royal coffers remained full. These taxes were meticulously recorded on papyrus scrolls and stone tablets, with scribes keeping detailed accounts of what was brought in and how much was owed. The Nile River, a vital artery of commerce, was dotted with checkpoints where goods were inspected and taxed. This system not only enriched the pharaohs but also helped regulate the flow of luxury items, agricultural products, and foreign imports. Across the Mediterranean, the Roman Empire took the concept of tariffs to new heights. The Romans relied heavily on tariffs as a source of revenue to fund their vast armies, build monumental infrastructure, and maintain the sprawling bureaucracy that held the empire together. Roman customs posts were strategically placed at borders, ports, and along major trade routes, where officials would assess and collect duties on everything from spices and silk to wine and olive oil. These taxes, collected at strategic points along trade routes, played a vital role in maintaining the empire's economic might. Toll stations and customs houses became familiar sights along the roads and rivers that connected the empire's far-flung provinces. Merchants, both local and foreign, understood that paying these tariffs was simply the cost of doing business in the Roman world. The revenue generated from these taxes helped finance public works, military campaigns, and the daily operations of government. But the practice of imposing tariffs was not limited to the Mediterranean. From the legendary Silk Road that linked China to the west, to the bustling ports of the Indian Ocean where traders from Africa, Arabia, and India met, tariffs were a ubiquitous feature of ancient trade. Every major civilization, from the Persians to the Chinese, developed its own system of taxing goods that crossed its borders. These tariffs not only generated income, but also allowed rulers to shape the flow of commerce, favoring certain goods or trading partners over others. Tariffs served not just as a source of income, but also as a powerful tool to regulate trade, protect local industries, and even exert political influence over neighboring states. By adjusting tariff rates, rulers could encourage the import of scarce resources or discourage the entry of competing products. In some cases, tariffs were used as diplomatic weapons, rewarding allies with lower rates or punishing rivals with higher ones. The negotiation of tariffs became an essential part of international relations, with merchants and diplomats alike seeking favorable terms. So, while the terminology and mechanisms might have evolved over time, the fundamental principle of tariffs, taxing goods that cross borders, has been a constant in human history for millennia. From the bustling markets of ancient cities to the grand empires that spanned continents, tariffs have shaped the way societies interact, trade, and grow. Even today, as nations debate the merits and drawbacks of tariffs, they are participating in a tradition that stretches back to the earliest days of civilization, when the first rulers realized that the flow of goods could be harnessed for the benefit of their people and the power of their states. Before we continue, if you are enjoying this video, feel free to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to receive future updates. Tariffs might seem counterintuitive at first glance. After all, in a world where we're constantly told that open markets and free trade are the keys to prosperity, why would any country want to put up barriers? Why would governments intentionally make imported goods more expensive for their own citizens? It's a question that has puzzled economists, politicians, and everyday shoppers alike for centuries. After all, don't lower prices benefit everyone? When goods are cheaper, consumers can buy more, businesses can access affordable materials, and the overall economy seems to thrive. But the reality is more complex than it appears on the surface. The story of tariffs is not just about economics, it's about politics, national security, and the delicate balance between global cooperation and domestic priorities. While free trade has its merits, governments impose tariffs for several strategic reasons. These decisions are rarely made lightly. Instead, they reflect a country's unique economic landscape, its political climate, and its long-term goals. Sometimes tariffs are used as a tool to correct perceived imbalances in trade, or to respond to unfair practices by other nations. Other times they're a way to assert national sovereignty in a rapidly globalizing world. One primary reason is protectionism, shielding domestic industries from foreign competition. Imagine a fledgling industry just getting off the ground, struggling to compete with established foreign companies that can produce goods more cheaply. Without some form of protection, these local businesses might never have a chance to grow, innovate, or even survive. Tariffs can act as a buffer, giving them the breathing room they need to develop and eventually stand on their own. Imagine a country where locally made shoes are more expensive than imported ones. Shoppers naturally gravitate toward the cheaper option, even if it means buying foreign brands. This can put local factories out of business, leading to job losses and economic decline in certain regions. For governments, this is a real concern, especially in industries that are seen as vital to national identity or security. A tariff on those imported shoes can level the playing field, making the local products more competitive. By raising the price of imports, tariffs encourage consumers to buy domestic goods, supporting local businesses and workers. This approach isn't just about economics. It's also about preserving a way of life, protecting communities, and ensuring that a country isn't overly dependent on foreign suppliers for essential goods. This protection can be crucial for nurturing new industries or safeguarding jobs in existing ones. In many cases, entire towns or regions depend on a single industry for employment. If that industry collapses due to foreign competition, the social and economic consequences can be severe. Tariffs, then, become a tool for governments to manage these risks and promote stability. Another key reason is revenue generation. Before the widespread adoption of income and sales taxes, tariffs were one of the main ways governments funded their operations. Even today in many developing countries, tariffs remain a significant source of income, helping to pay for everything from roads and schools to healthcare and public safety. Tariffs are a direct source of income for governments. Every time a product crosses the border, a portion of its value goes straight into the national treasury. This steady stream of revenue can be especially important in times of economic uncertainty or when other sources of funding are limited. These funds can then be used for various public services, from infrastructure development to education and healthcare. In this way, tariffs don't just affect the price of goods, they shape the very fabric of society, influencing everything from the quality of roads to the availability of medical care. Historically, tariffs were a major revenue stream, especially in countries lacking established tax systems. In the 18th and 19th centuries, for example, customs duties often accounted for the majority of government income. This legacy still shapes how many nations approach trade policy today. Finally, tariffs can be used as a bargaining chip in international relations. Trade isn't just about goods and services, it's also about power, influence, and negotiation. By adjusting tariffs, countries can send signals, reward allies, or put pressure on rivals. By threatening to impose tariffs or offering to reduce them, countries can negotiate better trade deals or achieve political objectives. In the complex world of international diplomacy, tariffs are both a shield and a sword, a way to protect national interests while engaging with the global community. While tariffs can be powerful tools for shaping a nation's economic strategy, their use is a double-edged sword. On one hand, tariffs can protect domestic industries from foreign competition, giving local businesses a chance to grow and thrive. On the other, they can ignite tensions between countries, disrupt established trade relationships, and even trigger full-scale trade wars that ripple across the globe. The consequences of such conflicts are rarely contained within national borders. Instead, they often set off a chain reaction that affects economies, industries, and ordinary people worldwide. One of the most infamous examples of this dynamic is the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, passed in the United States in 1930. This legislation was introduced at a time of great uncertainty, as the country was reeling from the effects of the Great Depression. Lawmakers, under pressure from struggling farmers and manufacturers, believed that raising tariffs on imported goods would shield American jobs and industries from foreign competition. The intention behind the Smoot-Hawley Act was to provide relief and stability to American farmers and industries, who were facing plummeting prices and widespread unemployment. However, the policy backfired dramatically. Instead of reviving the economy, it deepened the crisis. As tariffs rose, the cost of imported goods soared, making everyday items more expensive for American consumers. Meanwhile, other countries, feeling the sting of American protectionism, retaliated with tariffs of their own, targeting U.S. exports. The Smoot-Hawley Act raised tariffs on over 20,000 imported goods, affecting everything from agricultural products to manufactured items. This sweeping increase in trade barriers sent shockwaves through the global economy. Countries that once traded freely with the United States now found their goods blocked or heavily taxed, leading to a sharp decline in international commerce. Retaliatory tariffs quickly followed as nations sought to protect their own economies from the fallout. The result was a global trade war that only worsened the economic downturn. International trade collapsed, businesses shuttered, and unemployment soared to unprecedented levels. The world's economies became more isolated, and the spirit of cooperation that had once driven global growth was replaced by suspicion and economic nationalism. The Great Depression deepened, and the effects were felt far beyond the borders of the United States. Trade wars like the one sparked by Smoot-Hawley serve as stark reminders of how interconnected the global economy truly is. When one nation takes aggressive steps to protect its own interests, others are often forced to respond in kind, setting off a cycle of retaliation that can spiral out of control. The flow of goods, capital, and ideas across borders is the lifeblood of modern economies, and when that flow is disrupted, the consequences can be severe and long-lasting. When a country erects high tariff walls, it may hope to shield its industries, but the reality is often far more complex. Other nations, unwilling to accept economic losses, typically retaliate with their own tariffs, targeting key exports and industries. This tit-for-tat escalation can lead to a downward spiral of protectionism, where each new barrier only deepens the economic harm. Factories close, jobs are lost, and consumers face higher prices and fewer choices. The social and political fallout can be just as damaging, fueling unrest and undermining trust between nations. The devastating consequences of these protectionist policies did not go unnoticed. In the aftermath of the Great Depression and World War II, world leaders recognized the urgent need for a new approach to international trade. This led to the creation of organizations like the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, or GATT, which aimed to reduce trade barriers and promote cooperation among nations. Decades later, the World Trade Organization was established to build on these efforts, providing a framework for negotiating trade agreements and resolving disputes. These institutions have played a crucial role in regulating global trade, encouraging countries to work together rather than against each other. By promoting free trade agreements and providing mechanisms for resolving conflicts, they have helped prevent the kind of destructive trade wars that once plunged the world into economic chaos. Yet, the lessons of history remain relevant today, reminding us that the choices nations make about trade can have far-reaching consequences for the entire world. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell to receive future updates.